What's up, guys? I'm Jack with Jack Wagon Overlanding, and today we're going to show you our latest build. Jumping into things, we put on a JWO front detachable winch bumper. You'll notice that the winch is detached. Typically, the winch connects via the two tow hooks and the tow pin down the middle, but on this build, the client doesn't need the winch. So, just as we planned it, we threw a 10-inch light bar right in that spot. And we also threw on some LP9s above. Fun fact about this guy's LP9s, typically there's going to be an orange backlight, but for him it's green to go great with this secondary military green accent work that he's done. You'll see why he did that in a second. Of course, we have our JWO Bull Bar up top. We've got integrated Baja Designs S2 Pro LEDs for fog and cornering. These do function as factory fog lights and also work to brighten whenever you turn to either direction. Down lower, you can see a skid plate on there. We did maintain the factory skid plate, including the chrome blingy AMG skid grille, as well as the pipe across the front. That is one detail we are finishing up. There will eventually be a little black cap that goes there, but we need to find one that fits exactly right, and we're still working on that. Heading over to the driver's side, a little hint at some of the military green accenting we've got on this truck. You also notice the pinstripe down the side. But let's first talk about these side steps. These are the Abenteuer 4x4 G slides. And as you can see, they line up really nicely with these Fender Flares. These are the AMG Fender Flares, so they do hang out a little bit more than the non-AMG Flares, but they line up really nicely with this wheel and tire package, and of course, it's a very nice streamlined package with its side steps. Another nice thing here is you do get just a little bit of protection from the side impact as well, having these sliders, and they do have enough of a step. For smaller folks, there might be a better option, but for this client, who is over 6 foot tall, hopping up into this thing is no sweat. While we hop into the truck, we're going to show you the next feature, the MBRP high clearance exhaust. This is the first time we've talked about this in a video, and the big thing for us is MBRP approached us about selling an exhaust system. And I'll tell you right now, we're really not into performance modifications. We like to do off-road builds. When they told us that they want to put an exhaust on the truck, we thought, well, that's blingy, and the first thing we're going to do is go rip it up on a trail. Then they told us about the high clearance functionality. What you'll notice, this is a cat back system. So from the flange back, the exhaust actually tucks up further into the trunk and then just dumps right here. The factory system hung about 2 inches lower at the tip and about 2 to 3 inches lower at the muffler. So for guys that are looking to get more ground clearance for real off-road use, just like this client, this is a great setup to make sure you're protecting your exhaust and maximizing your ground clearance. While it does help for off-road, it definitely helps for show too. If you like a little noise, this is a heck of an exhaust system. Nice little grumble at startup. It's got some pop. I know, I love the way that sounds. If you're a guy that wants to go into a quiet neighborhood and doesn't want to disturb the neighbors every time you're coming home from a nice Friday night dinner with the family, this might not be the exhaust for you. But if you're a guy that likes to get a little bit more noise out of the truck and just add a little excitement to it and also want to get some off-road benefits, it's really hard to beat the MBRP system for what it does and for its price point. Heading around to the back, if you haven't already noticed, you see we put some little mud flaps on the front and the rear axles. This is going to be nice to make sure we're not slinging mud all over the place. With those Abenteuer side steps, you do have some coverage to the side of the truck, but because the tires poke out a little bit more, having those mud flaps is going to keep from slinging debris all over the side of the truck and getting it up on the inside of this bumper. And what bumper is this? This is the AFN rear steel bumper with its trademark feature, the nice hinged swing out spare configuration. Of course, the spare now mounts onto the bumper itself and is hinged off the trunk door. the majority of the weight is on the bumper now, so whenever you're off-roading, you're relieving this trunk door and its hinges from all that added weight and force. We do still have to give it a little bit of a shut, but it does pretty well. We've got it nice and tightly tucked into the trunk door. You can see there's not a ton of play. It does hang out a little bit, but it's in there about as tight as we're going to get it. A couple extra features we added onto this bumper. This is a 2012 G55. On some of the older models versus some of the newer models, the bracketry is different. So this bumper doesn't bolt directly onto this truck. We had to cut off 2 of the brackets from this bumper and weld on 2 new brackets to make it fit correctly. Another thing that the client wanted to see us do is relocate the license plate, which typically mounts into the spare wheel on this bumper, down to the trailer hitch area. And doing this, we're able to run a light that shines down. He's got very clear and arguably one of the strongest license plate mounts of any truck in the US. This is entirely made out of 1/4-inch steel plate and 1/4-inch square tube, so it can take a beating. The one thing we don't love about this is that it does hang lower than the rest of the bumper. We knew this, but with this tire in the way and trying to get access in to the trunk door, going any higher than this was going to create an obstruction anytime you're trying to do work in your trunk. So we're happy with where it stays, but when you go off-roading, because it is inserted into the receiver hitch, you can actually pull the plug and just take this off whenever you're going off-roading. When it is installed, it's rock solid though, so we like that. Another thing we did was accommodate for his rear Parktronic sensors. Of course, these are going to be your object sensing monitors whenever you're backing up your truck. So if you're in tight, it's going to tell you if you're going to hit a pole or the car next to you, etc. Especially when you've got a big beefy spare tire on here that takes up some of your rear view camera visibility. Having these sensors here as an aid is very beneficial. Overall, it came out pretty sturdy and we're happy with how it looks. Over the top, you will see this front runner roof rack. By our classification, you would call this the regular length standard height roof rack, including the front runner rear ladder. And he also does have a little bit of perimeter rail kit installed onto the system. It's not the full perimeter rail kit, but rather just the back quarter there. So he's got a little bit more opportunity to strap things down. Now heading over to the passenger side, we get to talk a little bit about this wheel and tire setup, as well as the lift kit we've got on this truck. On this truck, we're running a JWO 4-inch lift kit, including jack wagon overlanding 4-inch springs, Fox shocks, Eurowise panhard bars, extended brake and locker lines, caster correction, wheel spacers, and a Fox steering stabilizer. With that lift kit, we can clear 35-inch tires, and that's what we've used here. We're running a BF Goodrich KM3 tire in the size 315/75/16. That's a metric equivalent of roughly a 35 by 12.5-inch tire on a 16-inch Hutchinson Beadlock 1873 wheel. This owner is actually a military veteran, and so getting to use a true military green paint and powder finish on his truck is pretty special for this client. We're also using a 50mm wheel spacer here to maximize our stance and balance. If you look in closely, you'll see one extra added goodie here, the ORC rear sway bar assembly. With a lot of our 4-inch lift kits, based on the way our springs are designed, we try to accommodate for torque steer, body roll, and vehicle sag. But by adding this rear sway bar, we get even more control added to the rear end to really optimize the on-road handling of this truck. Is it needed every time? No. But man, I'll tell you what, this handles really, really nicely on the road. Two other features that came in with this truck were these lovely snorkels that are on the driver's side and the passenger side. On the G-Wagon, the air intakes are actually on the sides of the engine bay, not in the front. So these are fully functioning snorkels. So if this guy wants to go dive into a creek or any type of body of water, he can now get significantly higher up with water than you could before. The fun fact is, these little stripes on the side of the truck are actually how high you can technically submerge this vehicle without risk of flooding it out. But now with these snorkels, maybe you can push it a little further. Another nice little feature are these ORC step protection plates. Just a little bit more grit on the hood if you need to set down your keys or a cup of coffee or something whenever you're discussing at the local meetup or when you're out on a trip. This is a great way to not ruin beautiful paint jobs and instead put it on an aftermarket part. Guys, I might be missing something, but this covers the majority of the build process. And to this owner, Steve, we really appreciate the opportunity to work on your truck. To clients like Steve who've supported us in the past, and to people that are watching these videos for the first time, thank you all for the love and support you give us. You guys are what allows me to get to do this, so thank you very much. With that said, I'm Jack with Jack Wagon Overlanding, and we'll see you next time.